Hats off to Luis Enrique. Solid job.
Luis Enrique, he deserves a clap,
solid
okay.
job. If there was ever a way to prepare for a final, this is how to do it. And you could tell the PSG players were in sync. From start to finish, offensive, defensive, pressing, everything was on point. Now, I want to start from the beginning. How Inter chose to press the PSG backline. So we saw Dumfries and then DiMarco bumping forward to apply pressure. And in the beginning, it was 4 against 4 when PSG were building up, which was forcing Donnarumma to go long. So when they went, this is what we saw. So they were going long, and most of the time, because of the height advantage that Bastoni had, he was winning a lot of those balls. Then PSG made a switch where they sent Hakimi into the middle third, and then they went to their, what we typically see them do, or what we typically see them do throughout this season's Champions League, with this back three press. And what happened was, because Hakimi had dropped, obviously, DiMarco would have to drop. Dumfries dropped, and now it was Barella who was applying this press towards Mendes when he picked up the ball. But what Barella will do is, he will try and press Mendes and press the passing angle to Fabian Ruiz. But PSG are very smart in that they saw Inter do this against Barcelona. So what they did was, in order to involve Fabian Ruiz or Vitinha in this, either Vitinha will drop deep and pick up the ball from Mendes, or would see Ruiz also dropping either here or here, and then cause. So anytime Ruiz drops, obviously now it's a 2v1 against Barella. So now it also forced Barella back a bit. And then as the game grew on, PSG started gaining a bit more control on the ball. Then we saw the switch that most of us expected. Vitinha now went deep, and then Nuno Mendes now bumped forward. And then that's where the real danger now started springing up for PSG. Because now you look in the middle zone, they had outnumbered Inter Milan. When it comes to the final third also, what we expected to happen, the overloads on each side, they were now creating. So Mendes will come, and because of Mendes, he would suck in Dumfries. Kvaratskhelia will push up and hug the touchline, and because of that, it will force Pavard to also sort of shift in. And this was opening up the Inter Milan backline. They seem, ordinarily, they are very compact. So if you see Inter Milan setup, ordinarily, they are very compact. You see their midfield also very narrow. So when it comes to the middle zone, they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They are very close to each other, and it's very difficult for you to penetrate the middle zone. But with what PSG had done, they had forced Inter Milan to move with, in terms of their passing and their movement, basically manipulated the Inter Milan defense to whichever side they wanted them to. So if we look at, if we can just go to I think it was the first goal. The first goal that Hakimi's goal. So if you look at Hakimi's goal, we don't quite get the full picture. Okay. But Kvaratskhelia had gone very wide. Dumfries had been sucked in. Then Vitinha picked up the ball, went over Dumfries, took Kvaratskhelia in. And because Pavard had shifted to the right-hand side, so this is Pavard, this is Pavard. Acerbi also now had to close in. So this is Acerbi. And then Bastoni. So you can tell the entire Inter back three has now shifted to the right-hand side. And the brilliant thing about it is, once Kvaratskhelia gave the ball back to Fabian Ruiz, he made a very smart run. He went out as an offside. So let me clear. He went offside. This is Kvaratskhelia. Went offside. And because of his offside movement, Acerbi, who is in the center of the back three, the leader in the back three, took a quick glance and saw that the immediate danger was offside. Yeah. So they were fine. But as Kvaratskhelia is coming back onside, Desiree Doué is now making the run, the run into the space he just vacated. So if you play this, Doué now sees, and then quickly, as soon as Vitinha makes the run, he shifts into that space. And then, because of how PSG have manipulated and sent the entire centre backs or the back line to the left-hand side, there was a huge gap. If Hakimi didn't tap it in. Dembele was going to tap it in. They have sent all of them there, and it was a simple tapping for
Hakimi.
Yeah, for Hakimi. Let's go back to the touchline again. So we're seeing a lot of this, and it's funny. And this where for me, I was a bit disappointed in Inter Milan, and because as the game went on with the 1-0, 2-0, we saw after the second goal, Inter Milan came a bit too desperate.
Right.
And I thought it was a bit too early to be desperate. When now they wanted to go more aggressive.
They abandoned their game plan.
They abandoned the game, and this was the trap. PSG wanted both Dumfries and Di Marco to be sucked in deep to avoid or to cause these spaces, to happen. So you would see the movement of Hakimi. Hakimi was basically hugging the touchline, and was because of Hakimi's positioning, Di Marco had to pick him up. And then you see Desiree Doué, Dembele, and we spoke about it in the pre-match on game plan. I said that I was not quite sure Dembele will be doing a lot of these movements. He will be doing a lot of this.
You think he would be causing overloads?
Overloads, and you have the freedom to join in. So there were times where we'll see Dembele join in, or they'll completely switch. Doué will come here. When Doué came here, he would also double up, and they had about 3 bodies on the left hand
simply
side.
Couldn't handle the movement.
They just couldn't handle the movement, and all was basically to manipulate the midfield of Inter Milan. And it was done with these 3 guys. So because Vitinha has come on this side, Ruiz will shift in, Joao Neves will shift in, and then it causes both Barella, Mkhitaryan, and then he creates
the men
to chase them because the midfield have gone this way. Vitinha has the ball. He has the angle to send the ball to these areas, catch, obviously, a 2-on-2. And because these are 2 players who, when they pick the ball on the 10, they have the skill and ability to go past their men and create spaces. So for me, that was, from an Inter point of view, that really disturbed me because it just created too many gaps between the lines. And I think if you look at the Doué second goal, it was basically like that. Yeah, so that's it. So Doué second goal, you saw this is Vitinha, who is going to pick up the ball from Marquinhos and has sent the PSG, the Inter Milan midfield onto the right-hand side, which created a lot of space for Dembele, who later on popped on this side. So you see Vitinha picks up the ball. He literally runs and it's great. And you see, the run he's making is a diagonal one. Yeah. So now instead of the Inter Milan midfield being in a horizontal manner, they've now shaped up in a diagonal manner, which has created a lot of space for Vitinha to run to. And Vitinha gives the ball to him. As soon as Dembele gives the back heel, there's acres of space for him to run into. And obviously, if PSG, with the technical quality that they have, if you create this space, they will obviously go and punish you.
And this was probably the best worked goal of the night because of where he started from. It was almost as if, like you say, it was almost as if it's 3D chess, where you start a move and you already know where the move is going to end up. And every single player is in tune with what is happening. Because it looks like even the back heel was very intended.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like one back heel and he took out almost like 4 or 5 Inter Milan midfielders, and suddenly Vitinha, who was so deep in his own half, is not the one making the assist. And all of that happened with about 3 touches.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, the transition and the intelligence of the movement of the midfielder and the midfielders of PSG. And for the attacking players, as you indicated, once they get the ball to either of them, you know, they have enough creativity to be able to finish off. And that ruthless efficiency as well in the finishing is what PSG showed, because we don't usually see that.
They were clinical on the night. But and what Dani says is true, is the manipulation of not only the ball, but the manipulation of the Inter team. They were able to bait Inter into zones where they were going to kill them.
Yeah.
And there was something very interesting that Enrique did. And Dani mentions it. When PSG, they start, when Inter Milan were pressing PSG 4v4 by sending Di Marco high and sending comfortable enough to send Dumfries high, they had to go long, but that didn't favor them. Yeah. But what Enrique did was very, very intelligent, as you would expect. What he did then was just push Hakimi there. And I think Dani has mentioned it. That means DiMarco has to look over his shoulder, so he has to go back a little bit. So it blocked one of the presses from DiMarco. But even more interestingly, what he also did, so once he did that, it became a back three. Now, bringing it to a back three now means that while Martinez presses, if you like, Pacho, and then Thuram presses Marquinhos, it was then Barella, as Dani said, who would come and do this. But the thing about this PSG team is, they are, apart from the fact that they are good on the ball, they are incredibly quick and sharp. They are very fast with the ball. So what happened a lot in that first half, as we saw, was that Fabian Ruiz would either come this way or most of the time be here. Now, once he gets here, it's easy for, even though Barella wants to do this, there's too much space here, there's too much space here for him to manipulate it. And then Vitinha as well occupies Kaanoglu, so he can block these passing lanes. But most of the time, Fabian Ruiz was picking the ball from here, which engaged Dumfries. If Kvaratskhelia will be here, he will engage here. But this is why I like Luis Enrique, because he smells that something better can happen with this space. So what he does is, Hakimi, go up the pitch, Dembele, come this way, Fabian Ruiz, come this way, and then Desiree Doué. Instead of Fabian Ruiz picking up the ball in this zone, you'll pick up the ball. So straight away, the two, for some spells of the game, the two dangerous wide players of Inter Milan were all on this side. First, 1v1 Doué versus Dumfries, and the second, Kvaratskhelia and then Pavard, all wide. But what that did was to also disrupt the entire Inter team, because
that is crazy setup. It's
look at
almost like
there.
2 1v1s created
there. So getting to the end of the first half, it was Achraf Hakimi was actually the number 9 here.
Yeah.
And Dembele going this way. Because there's so much space here. And then all of a sudden, Kaanoglu, Mkhitaryan have to now start doing something. João Neves, they are quick. And then Marquinhos can push. Their centre forwards need to start defending. Barella needs to start defending some space somewhere. Then so when you look at how Inter are positioned now, the entire structure, the entire compactness of their midfield is gone. Simply because there's a dangerous player here on 1v1 with Dumfries. And I tell you what, Doué, when he has to cut onto his right foot, he's a lot better than what he does here. So he favored them a lot. And then Kvaratskhelia, we know the danger and the threats that he can pose to whoever.
Yeah.
So, and I was telling Dani before the show started that I've not seen any football game where everybody who started in the PSG team can actually be marked 10 over 10. Do you know how serious that is? Like every serious...
That's what this game was.
Yes, every serious...
It was 10-10 from every PSG player.
You can look at every single PSG player and say that you had a perfect game. You know, Mensch had a perfect game. Pacho had a perfect game. Marquinhos, Hakimi, every one of them. It was difficult for Inter Milan to compete in any zone of this game because they were too quick. And more importantly, when this lad comes here, when this boy comes here and picks up the ball, because these guys are occupied, Martinez and Thuram are occupied, this whole zone is his. Because Kaanoglu is so scared of leaving this zone to come all the way with him. So he goes and he leaves him and then he comes. And Barella has to now start moving from here to here. By the time he gets there, what will happen has happened because this guy is quick. There's options here. But again, as Dani mentioned with Dembele moving into this space.
But
well.
Before you go to the Dembele angle, this illustration Sitso made with Luis Enrique pushing Desiree Doué, it was either Desiree Doué comes here, occupies Dumfries, or we see Dembele occupying. And that panned out in Desiree Doué's Kvaratskhelia goal. So let's look at Kvaratskelia's goal and look at the position that Dembele had picked up. So this is Nuno Mendes, who is the passing option that comes to
that's straight away the back three.
That's the back three.
Hakimi high up the pitch.
That's Dembele. Dembele has come to the left-hand side to pick it up.
By that time, Carlos Augusto was... By that time, it's Achebi who's following Dembele.
So now they've created so many spaces in between the lines. Dembele has a poor touch, but look at the recovery of Nuno Mendes. Yes. Picks it up again. Dembele is still there. It's a 1-2 between them. And look at the space that has been created. At this point,
in case of space,
Desiree Doué. He just basically has to slip in a through ball, and then the ball is in the back of the net. As simple as that.
So, but that was a lovely finish, really. If you look at how he set himself up to actually go on and score, it was a beautiful finish. And so, again, and when Dani mentions what happened here with the triangle, when Dembele moved here, between these three players, 1, 2, 3, what they did on this side as well killed this Inter Milan team. It completely shattered them because what that again does is it has to shift Mkhitaryan to try and do this, while Kahanoğlu comes to do this. But the point again is, all these three players have got great technical ability with the ball and their dribbling ability as well. So anytime Inter Milan got close to them, they had an extra man to pass the ball to, or they had the skill to get past them. And we saw one of that. When Hakimi found Doué, he was able to turn with the ball with it was a lovely skill. Yeah. I remember in commentary, we were all very excited about that skill, just to spin past them. It was all about that. And for me, even we are speaking a lot about what PSG did when if like they were on the ball, but what they did off the ball as well was incredible, really was. Because if Inter Milan are going to build up, right, they normally have got Bastoni coming here, they've got Di Marco sitting somewhere here, Acerbi opens up, Pavard as well will be here, then they send down Freeze high up the pitch. But look, when you watch the way PSG works, it's so beautiful. But this guy here,
it's like there are no superstars in the team. Yeah, everybody works for this.
I think what Dembele does is brilliant, right? And because and Doué as well. Inter Milan, when they are building up, it's impossible for them to do a build up without their goalkeeper.
Right.
It's impossible. Like he's a fundamental part of their build up. Sommer. It's either he's going to Acerbi or he's coming to Bastoni. Most often Bastoni, because on the ball he's better and he drives the ball better. Di Marco is also good on the ball and he combines with him a lot well. Now, anytime the ball went to, at times the ball goes to Acerbi and comes back to him. But Dembele always made sure.
Let me give you the ball.
Pass. Thank you very much. Now, if the ball is with the goalkeeper, Dembele always made sure that the goalkeeper was going to rush it. But even if he was able to find Bastoni, and then this press came in, Dembele never stopped. He made sure he was also getting here. So Bastoni can quickly find Di Marco, but then the space here to find Kahanoğlu was never on. And Di Marco never has the pace to get past Hakimi. And this side of the pitch for Inter Milan is how they build up shots.
Yeah, very crucial.
Very crucial. Like when you disrupt that, they always have to go long. So at times, then someone has to go long and try and find Dumfries. Couple of poor touches, too much pressure on the ball, or inaccuracy of the pass because of the press from Dembele. Yeah. And I said it, Desiree Doué will get all the plaudits of being the man of the match. My man of the match really was this guy, Dembele. Because for everything that stopped Inter from being comfortable, he led it.
It came from him. He was the figure.
It came from him. And from some of the goals they scored, the way he played in the positions that he occupied was immense. So yeah, I think that, like I said, you rarely watch a football game and look at the players who played for one side and think that everybody could be 10 over 10 on the night. And there was no way in a million years that performance on the night, Inter were going to have answers to it, considering how they stopped Inter from being effective and how effective they themselves were. Yeah. Masterstroke from Enrique and PSG.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, guys. Fantastic analysis of what went down. Thank you very much, Ghana, Gary Neville, and Jimmy Carragher. You can take your seats now.
It's a setup.